Today, I'll cover the show March Comes in Like a Lion. Rei Kiriyama, a professional shogi player and high school student who lives alone in an apartment, visits his shogi teacher Masachika Kobata in hall. After Rei wins a match against Masachika, Rei is contacted by his friend Hinata Kawamoto, who invites him over to her house across town for dinner. After picking up groceries from the convenience store, Rei is awaited by Hinata, as well as her older sister Akari Kawamoto and younger sister Momo Kawamoto. While eating curry for dinner, Rei hears on the news that the body of Shizuo Unagawa was found badly bludgeoned in his own house, in which his eldest son Tadashi, a university student, has been arrested after being suspected of murder. When Rei goes to sleep, the sister's grandfather Somuji Kawamoto comes by and allows Rei to stay overnight. The next morning, Hinata wakes up late and rushes off to middle school. Later on, Rei eats lunch with high school teacher Takashi Hayashida on the school roof, where the latter expresses envy for professional shogi players. Rei then visits the wagashi shop run by the Kawamoto family. He finally arrives home but encounters chubby professional shogi player Harunobu Niketo holding his mail. The mail contained a letter notifying Rei of an upcoming shogi match, and Harunobu wanted to personally deliver it in hopes of creating a friendly long-time rivalry. Rei prepares for a qualifying match in a tournament for the NHK Cup at the Shogi Hall in Sendagaya. His opponent is Issa Matsumoto, shown with an enthusiastic personality and an aggressive attitude. Although Issa loses, his friend and fellow professional shogi player Tatsuyuki Smith Masubi forces Rei to treat them at a bar in Ginza where Akari works as a hostess. Rei reminisces about when he first met Akari outside the bar before she took him to her house in March Town for him to see Hinata and Momo. In the present, Rei crosses the bridge of June Town where he lives to get to the supermarket. He comes across the Kawamoto sisters in the supermarket and he is invited over to their house in March Town for dinner. Rei tells Somuji that his deceased parents are buried in Nagano. After having rice and chicken for dinner, Rei secretly wonders about his empty past. He leaves with leftovers that Akari gave him. In the past, Rei and Harunobu competed in the shogi semifinals at an amusement park during the summer. Harunobu never gave up during the match despite the scorching heat, but he eventually lost after running out of moves. In the present, Rei heads to the shogi hall and encounter Issa and Smith, who say that Harunobu is ready for his match. Rei and Harunobu engage in an intense shogi match. When Harunobu has Rei cornered, Rei remains calm and manages to win. Hanoka, Harunobu's butler, has returned early from his vacation and takes Harunobu home. Harunobu is even more determined to win against Rei on their next match. Rei goes to the Kawamoto sisters' house at night for dinner. Akari lights a farewell ceremonial fire for the spirits of her deceased mother and grandmother while explaining that she lit a welcoming ceremonial fire for them last night. When Hinata plans to go alone to the store in order to pick up some manga, Rei follows her and ends up at a pier, where she cries out for her deceased mother. Rei stays with Hinata for a while as he contemplates his repressed feelings for losing his own biological family. While Rei and Akari peel chestnuts to be boiled, they learn that Hinata likes a middle school student named Yusu Takahashi and wants to prepare a home-cooked meal for him. Rei returns home after accompanying Hinata to the supermarket in order to gather up the necessary ingredients for her. On the following Sunday, Hinata rushes to prepare the meal before heading out. Rei swings by Hinata's middle school and notices that Hinata is watching Takahashi play in a baseball game. After witnessing a home run by Takahashi, Rei realizes that Hinata is smitten with Takahashi. When Hinata is unable to deliver the meal to Takahashi, Rei prevents an upset Hinata from throwing it away and walks her home. After Rei and Akari taste the meal, it turns out to be unfortunately bittersweet and sour. Later on, Harunobu is motivated to develop a Bishop Exchange Crusher Silver Bullet technique in order to win against Rei during a practice match. While getting something to eat, Rei and Harunobu run into the Kawamoto sisters, who invite them over for dinner. Attracted by Harunobu's physique, Akari feeds Harunobu the perfect meal. Hanaoka stops by the house and brings sweets from the wagashi shop. As a child, Rei played shogi often with Masachika, who was a friend of Rei's biological father. Rei picks up Momo from daycare as a favor from Akari. On their way home, Momo gets hurt after crossing paths with a barking white dog, prompting Rei to rescue her. Rei begins to break down after cleaning up Momo's wounds. When Akari and Hinata return, Rei leaves their house as he recalls the death of his parents and sister during his childhood. At the funeral, Rei's relatives arrived to pay their respects, and he agreed to be adopted by Masachika into a life of shogi. Rei lived with Masachika's hot-tempered daughter Kyoko Koda and secluded son Ayumu Koda. Ayumu decided to quit playing shogi due to Rei's performance, while Kyoko was also forced to quit despite her passion. Kyoko spent her time running around town, and Ayumu shut himself in his bedroom playing video games. After seeing a documentary about the common kaku chick, Rei decided to leave the Koda family in order to become a professional shogi player thereafter. It is revealed that Masachika gave Rei the green sweater that he currently wears. Hayashida learns that Rei will not be participating in the high school study camp this year due to his career as a professional shogi player. Rei faintly remembers the harsh words that Kyoko told him in the past, but he believed that there was a place where he belonged if he could support himself with shogi alone. When he first moved into an unfurnished apartment, he spent much time on shogi and some time in school. Rei lost 2 consecutive shogi matches in the second year of his career, causing him to figuratively swim across the ocean until reaching the shoreline. Hayashida then has a conversation with Rei about professional shogi player Toji Soya, who has held the title of Meijin since he was in middle school. As Rei leaves the high school, he runs into Hinata outside a fast food restaurant. After Rei treats her to a meal, Hinata musters up the courage to invite Rei over to her house. This leads Rei to reflect on the Kawamoto sisters. Takahashi suddenly appears at the fast food restaurant, causing Hinata to run away in embarrassment and Rei to be intimidated by Takahashi's massive stature. After Takahashi recognizes Rei as a professional shogi player, Rei talks about his decision that he made about returning to high school after going professional. Before Takahashi leaves the fast food restaurant, Rei and Takahashi exchange contact information just as Hinata returns from the girls' restroom. Rei walks Hinata to her house, then arrives at his apartment to contemplate how he made a difference in Takahashi's life. On Saturday at the Kawamoto sisters' house, Takahashi comes over in order to ask Rei more about shogi. Hinata is able to prepare home-cooked egg and chicken curry for dinner before Akari has to go to work at the bar. Hinata and Momo realize that Rei is a professional shogi player after watching a video recording of his televised losing match in the NHK Cup. After Sumji comes home, Rei becomes fired up upon listening to Harunobu's commentary on his bad move during the match. Later on, Rei and Harunobu end up meeting each other at the store. They go to the Kawamoto sisters' house in order to teach Hinata and Momo the basics of shogi. When Rei becomes too technical in his explanation, Harunobu tries a more fundamental approach. Harunobu describes to Hinata and Momo about the unique movements of the shogi pieces, which include the pawn, the lance, the knight, the silver general, the gold general, the rook, the bishop, and the king. Rei is surprised to learn that Harunobu has written and illustrated a cat-themed children's book about shogi. Harunobu then follows Rei back to his apartment and gives him a futon as a housewarming gift. Later on, Essa and Smith tell Rei that Harunobu's commentary about Rei's losing match was due to Harunobu striving to face off against Rei in the finals. With having 3 wins and 3 losses, Rei now faces the possibility of dropping down a class if he gets 2 degradation points. While Akari, Hinata, Momo, and Someji are fascinated with shogi, Rei reflects on how his biological father might feel about him being a professional shogi player. Upon arriving back at the apartment, Rei finds Kyoko outside and he is forced to let her inside and stay the night. In the morning, Kyoko rattles Rei about the implications of winning his rank-deciding match against an older professional shogi player named Shoichi Matsunaga. Rei is torn between winning the match and putting Matsunaga out of retirement after being a professional shogi player for 40 years or throwing the match and demoting himself down a class. During the match in the shogi hall, Rei is unable to determine Matsunaga's strategy, yet Rei calls Matsunaga's bluff of a trap and still manages to win. Afterwards, Rei treats Matsunaga to some grilled eel, in which Matsunaga confesses that Masachika had no personality while Kyoko was a true femme fatale. Matsunaga then explains that his hometown of Fukushima was ruled in 1643 by minor feudal lord Hoshina Masayuki, who proposed important policies for the greater good. With Matsunaga heavily drunk, Rei follows him to the pier, where Matsunaga admits that he knew all about Rei for a while. Although Matsunaga felt afraid before the match, he motivated himself to face Rei in order to overcome his fear of losing. However, now that Matsunaga has lost, he has decided not to quit playing shogi, thanks to Rei. Sadly, Matsunaga wants to continue playing shogi in order to get out of doing household chores for his family. With Christmas Day soon approaching, Rei receives a call from Kyoko, who left her watch at his apartment. He meets her at the pier and returns the watch, but Kyoko mentions that Rei's upcoming opponent Manabu Yasui is planning to divorce his wife. Moreover, Yasui only becomes drunk and goes out gambling if he loses his shogi match. Kyoko even says that Yasui's daughter wishes to be with him until Christmas Day. Rei recalls that Masachika gave him new shogi pieces one Christmas Day long ago, while Kyoko and Ayumu each receive a teddy bear and a handheld game console respectively. At school, Hayashida invites Rei to the class Christmas party after going over his good grades, but Rei leaves before Hayashida can get an answer. Rei heads to the shogi hall in order to have his year-end match against Yasui. After a tough match, Yasui resigns due to making a crucial mistake in his gameplay. Rei then follows Yasui outside and returns his gift bag, which Yasui angrily accepts before muttering that this will be his last Christmas Day with his family. Rei runs to a park and yells out his frustration about Yasui being a weak player. During New Year's Eve, Rei is cooped in his apartment with a fever. The Kawamoto sisters make an unexpected visit and take Rei to their house for him to recover there. Rei realizes from Akari that Masachika has been contacting Rei repeatedly when his cell phone was off. While Hinata, Momo, and Sumiji take a nap, Akari feeds Rei some rice with pickled plums while talking about how her late mother did the same thing when she was sick. During New Year's Day, Hinata realizes that the postcards have come in the mailbox. She quickly runs to retrieve Rei's postcards from his apartment, in which he receives a postcard from Harunobu as well as Takanori Jinguji, chairman of the Japan Shoji Association. Misaki, the aunt of the Kawamoto sisters, arrives and tells Sumiji that Akari deserves to work at the bar instead of taking care of the house all the time. Akari and Hinata prepare an exquisite dinner for everyone. Misaki leaves after dinner, while Rei goes to the guest room when Akari explains that the dining area is made into an impromptu changing area since the bathroom is next to the dining area. Rei comfortably falls asleep afterwards. After returning to his apartment a couple of days later, Rei walks outside and compares the Kawamoto sisters' house to a warm kotatsu. Having 3 rank-deciding matches left this season with 4 wins and 3 losses, his focus is on the qualifying match for the upcoming Shishio tournament, which is sponsored by a big newspaper company and has generous prize money in store. Rei wins his qualifying match against his opponent Takeshi Tsuji, known for his strong offensive power and lame jokes. Meanwhile, Smith wins his qualifying match after he leads his opponent Okuyasu Yokomizo into a flawless trap. In the lobby, Rei and Smith later encounter professional Shaja player Masamune Goto, who apparently views Kyoko as a stalker. Smith tries to restrain a riled-up Rei as Goto takes his leave. Jinguji comes by with a haul of rockfish, sardines, and flounder, so Smith and Rei each take some fish with them. Rei delivers his fish to Akari at the Kawamoto sisters' house. After dinner, Hinata and Momo are saddened that Rei cannot stay overnight this time, and they support him in doing his best for the semifinal match in the tournament against Kai Shimada. That was all for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video.